Hello everybody, how are you? And welcome back to my channel. We're doing an inside edition, but don't you worry, you're going to be seeing some ponies very soon. So I thought, given that it was bearing to the end of 2022, and when this comes out in the morning, it is going to be New Year's Eve, I might just hold myself accountable and do a little bit of goal setting. So stay tuned for a very brief roundup and my goals for the 2023 season. Okay then guys, let's start off with my roundup of the season. I'm going to go horse by horse, and it's going to have a high and a low per horse for our competition, because you may or may not know I've had a bit of a rocky season, to say the least, with my two eventers becoming unwell. Initially Maggie became unwell and ended up with colic surgery, and she turned out to have colitis and finished her event season in April this year. And Titan had a lot of respiratory issues this season, so he ended up on sick note too. And then we picked up our lovely Donuts. So we've had massive highs, massive lows, but I thought I would narrow this down to just sort of at specific competitions on the highs and lows. And we're going to start in order of the horses bowing out for the season or arriving. So to start off with, we're going to start off with Miss Maggie, and we'll begin on a low and finish on a high, shall we? So my low this season with her was Norton Disney, which was actually the event that we decided to step up to be novice at. And the reason it's a low is because I let my mindset get in the way, and I sort of had a massive bout of imposter syndrome that morning, even though we were more than prepared. I'd walked the cross-country course a couple of days before and been a little bit scared by it, but I literally went home, built the hardest combinations in the arena at home, and we jumped through them, and then I was feeling really prepared. And then it was when we actually got to the event that I saw everybody around, and I just thought, oh, I'm not good enough for this. So yeah, I let it get to me, and actually we were jumping a beautiful show jumping round, and I got her in a little bit deep at fence 3, and I distinctly remember that just being the stage where I started beating myself up as I went around the show jumping course, and you know, telling myself off because I'd missed at the fence, and you know, I'll make her lose confidence, and you can't be missing at 110. I now look back at the video, and at fence 3 she gets a little bit close but makes a beautiful shape, and actually to anybody else looking, you probably wouldn't call it a miss. And actually that is what wrecked the round, because she's carried on jumping lovely, but I was so busy beating myself up that I stopped riding, as I know I can. And she then lost confidence at the double, and double's a place where she needs a lot of confidence, because she I don't think she believes she has enough space when she jumps in. And she stopped at the first part, and then they rebuilt it, and I came around and she jumped the first part, and I didn't put enough leg on for the second part, and I went flying over her head. So that is our low for this year, because we were more than capable of going and popping around, and it was actually my mindset that got to me on that. And it's something that I want to work on, and we'll discuss that in my goals later. But the thing is, we then went back, because Norton's local to us, and we went back the following day, and the show jumping course and the cross country course was still up like a competition. And we jumped around the show jumping course brilliantly, and then went and jumped around the whole novice cross-country course. Having jumped around the 100 cross-country course to warm up, we then finished off jumping around the novice cross-country course. First time for everything, clear stunningly. So, you know, just typical. We know we can do it, but I need to work on my mindset in that respect. Now to go on to a high. The following week we went off to Eland Lodge, and having been and gone schooling at Norton and given myself a little bit of a talking to, and worked on my mindset, we went and did a stunning dressage test and a very lovely double clear around the B100 to come second, and we were building up our confidence. So, you know, it shows how quickly it can flip around, and we didn't get a chance to have any more competition highs because obviously she became unwell at that stage and was out for the season. But it was such a good thing for me to go and get back out with her straight away and just go and fly around a course. And that's actually a second at B100 is like my highest placing at my highest level, if that makes sense. So that was a massive achievement for us. Okay, so before I go on to my goal setting, I'm going to do everybody's low and highs, and then we will do goals at the end. So next one up is Titan, and a bit like Maggie, we didn't have much of a season to discuss because he didn't get many events in before he became unwell, which is just typical. But I'm going to say a low is actually off Churchbury, which is on my very, very first event vlog. So you can always go have a look at that if you like. And it wasn't a terrible low. It was just one of those sort of niggly lows that I've had, and I've been on it myself a little bit, in the respect of I didn't feel I had him fit enough, and I don't mention it in the vlog. But you can see that he's a little bit well-rounded in it, and I took him steady anyway cross country because we were out of the running with some poles show jumping, but actually he felt like he was a bit tired at the end, even though he was still finishing off jumping as well as he had the whole time. I just didn't think he felt as fit and as fired up as I would have liked him to be, and I put some of it down to the ground, but actually if I'm sitting and analysing it, I think I could have had him fitter. So I'd say that would be my low, and controversially I would also say off Churchbury was my high. I mean, we've had a better placing this season. He had come second in 2022, but I actually felt off Churchbury without a placing was still our high, because regardless of the fitness, I felt his way of going was really super. And actually it was pouring with rain that day. Neither Titan nor I like rain or deep going, and we both cracked on with it, and he did a lovely dressage test, and he probably did his best at show jumping despite having a couple of poles down. Best as in best flowing and getting off the floor show jumping that he's done in about 2 years, since he had an injury a couple of years ago where he reared up in the field and slipped over, the silly boy. So yeah, controversial, low and high, all within one event. But I think it does go like that sometimes, and it's good to acknowledge. Okay, on to donuts. So we got donut just before off Churchbury, I think. Now, I found it quite hard to look for a low in his competition season because, to be honest, the boy went out and performed this year. So, and I think because we had absolutely zero expectations of him and didn't know what to expect or think, it sort of, everything felt like a high, really. But I would say our low was Askham Brian, which I also vlogged. Again, because of my mindset. And it was kind of a high though, because I worked through it, which I also really liked. But it was another one of, in the show jumping, I sort of did a bit of overthinking and I underpowered him. I didn't let him go as forward as he needs to go. And, you know, he'd had his little niggle in the dressage of doing a couple of spin arounds and the likes, which is fine. and I just didn't ride forwards, and you can see in the video of his show jumping round that like between fence 1 and 2 he had a moment where he just napped because he wasn't feeling the joy from me. So you know, it's one of those where it wasn't quite brilliant, but if you go back and watch the vlog, I also took away so many highs from it. I just found it really hard to pick a low for him, to be honest, this year, and I'm sure there will be plenty more to come. But as we all know, without the lows, we never appreciate the highs. So, on the high note for Donut, I did find it really hard to choose which one I wanted to highlight as my high, because he came out and won his first event. I think he was placed in everything except for Asking Brian, to be honest. And he just came out and showed his class every time and tried his best. But I have written down my high as Norton Disney at the end of the season with Donut, where he jumped a double clear at 90. So he'd managed a double clear at his first event at 80, and then we'd had a couple of 90s once he stepped up, and the 80 at the Brigante Cup where we had poles in the show jumping, pole or poles. Whereas Norton, he managed to jump a clear show jumping round. And then a clear cross country, and he went and jumped the very ditch that he point blank refused to go over when I first took him cross country schooling. He then went and, albeit jumped and skewed, and I had to yank him back to get to the second part of the fence, but he went and jumped it, and a bit like Epworth, like he'd stuck his feet in it. He was so nervous about jumping it. So to say at the end of the season he cantered up to a ditch and jumped it was absolutely fantastic. So that is our highs and lows of 2022. On to the goals. We will start with Miss Maggie Moo again. Initially, obviously guys, my first goal is actually to get back out jumping and to go eventing, and I think I'm going to be so emotional if that day comes, because it's been a long old slog getting her to this stage, but she is so joyous in her way of going in her work. You would not know what she's been through. So I am ever hopeful. She feels better than ever. So that is our initial goal. Our next goal is to go and actually make that step up to be novice. And I think it's going to be early season, guys, because you wouldn't believe how this girl is jumping at the minute. And in order to achieve that goal, that is like the goal. In order to achieve that goal, I am going to be going for sessions with my mindset guy, and for at least 1 or 2 sessions. I've been working with Mark, my mindset guy, since I want to say 2018, and we've worked through so many things. We've discussed like family and jobs and horses and whatever seems to be in my noggin at the time, and he just asks the right questions and helps me with a few skills, and it works for me. So that is going to be like a step towards achieving our goal. So like I say, go eventing, move up to novice, and who knows what the season may have in store. Could we manage a 2-star? It depends on funds and how the step up to novice goes, but stay tuned for that, because I am very, very excited to go and have a crack at that challenge. On to Mr. Titan. His goals are slightly changeable at the moment, just because I don't really know what's happening with BE and unaffiliated and the likes. I don't know how, if you're really clued up on BE, you'll have heard about them saying unaffiliated can't be run directly after a BE. I think there's got to be a 2-week gap. So I think we're going to lose quite a few unaffiliated, because before that rule came in, I was thinking I might not re-register him, and I might aim to qualify him for a few unaffiliated championships like the Brigante Cup and maybe the Cotswold Cup, and I'm also registering a riding club if I get round to it, so I think there's a few events there. And I was thinking I might do that, but it just depends on what comes up now as to whether there's going to be enough on the calendar. If not, we'll be registering BE, and I would like to take Titan to some championships. He's 17 next year, so I really want to enjoy him while I can. That is the most important thing with him. He's an old hand at nipping around B90s and 80s, and the main thing for him is I want him fit as a butcher's dog, okay? I want him super duper fit, so a bit like Maggie, we're already working on these goals. They've been in the back of my head, but I am making myself accountable and putting it into video form, so I can look back next year and see if we achieved them. And obviously with his breathing stuff, we do need to find out if he's going to come back. So if he's not going to come back to a full eventing job, which I'm really hoping he is, because he's riding and leading with Maggie at the minute. We're doing canter work, which is slightly hairy, but we're managing our canter work, riding and leading, and he is not puffing at all. So we'll just have to see how he is when the hot weather comes in. But if not, I do also intend on registering him BD, purse strings allowing, and I will aim to take him to some BD championships if not. So like I say, a bit changeable for him, but basically he needs to be super duper fit and we need to be out having a lot of fun. Okay, aims for Donut before we wrap up. Donut, I would like, he's done 2 B90s now. I would like to bring him out at 90, but fairly quickly, all being well, move him up to B100. And my aims for him is to improve his skills and agility. So I want him to be able to learn to stay cool in the dressage, because the tension seeps in, which is great. But I feel like that's something I naturally work on quite a lot with the dressage. The jumping is the thing that I enjoy the most, but I also have to work on the most as well. So I want him to be a bit tidier when he's jumping, ideally try and keep him really careful in the show jumping, and improve his technical skills ready for the cross country, because once he's going 100, he's going to have more skinnies, more turns, he's got to listen to me more, and it's going to be a lot more technical. And there is a teeny tiny little bit of me that is questioning whether we might manage novice next year. Who knows? We might not manage B100 at this rate. We'll see. My goal is B100 on him, but in order to get there, we need that technicality to be nailed down. I don't intend on going and getting a cricket score in the show jumping, so we will be getting that sorted so that he can jump around as cleanly as possible. And we will then see from there. It would be lovely to have 2 horses at novice. Like I say, I've not made the step up yet properly, so to have one of them at novice would be amazing. That is the dream. But we will see. So they are my goals. How exciting. I'm going to wrap up here, and I will say have a lovely New Year's Eve, guys, and I will see you next year. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and leave me a comment if you fancy saying hi.